On the show, remember Bear Grylls and Prime Minister Modi's Jim Corbett National Park episode of Man vs. Wild? Well, the host has now made a stunning revelation. Yet another park bashing at the hands of United States for not acting against terror. The heat is on in the hills and in the plains alike. We tell you why it is so hot in February. A special report on the northeast polls. Will the Congress slip further in the region amid a possible BJP onslaught? And we take you to the front line. TV9 brings you exclusive war report from Russia-controlled Ukrainian region. This and more. Top Angle starts right here, right now. Well, can you call this year's February a winter month? Well, with the current spell of abnormally high temperatures this month, mainly in the northern and the western parts of India, it's hard to believe so. And there's a growing possibility of an intensely hot summer and extended heat waves this year. February 26th, it registered the maximum temperature at 32.3 degrees Celsius, 7 notches above the season's average. The national capital saw its third hottest February day on the 21st of the month at 33.6 degrees Celsius. This in more than 5 decades. Now, the IMD had earlier warned maximum temperatures across northwest, west and central India will be 3 to 5 degrees Celsius higher than the long-term normal. The early temperature rise is due to weak western disturbances resulting in less rainfall. Western disturbances usually starts early in November and lasts through December, January and sometimes February. But there were no substantial western disturbances throughout the months of November and December. The effect of current La Nina conditions too is adding to the rising temperatures. Experiencing the La Nina effect for the third year in a row has resulted in lower than average rainfall and in turn has increased heat. And with this, it is evident why once a decade heat wave events have begun to occur once every few years now, and every time they're becoming more and more intense. Moving on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the 5th post-budget webinar on the subject of ease of living using technology, in which the Prime Minister emphasized on the use of technology to enhance ease of living of the citizens. The Prime Minister underlined the policies and government actions that have brought positive changes in the environment to make lives of people easier. Let's take a look.
बीते वर्षों में हमारी सरकार के हर बजट में टेक्नोलॉजी की मदद से देशवासियों की ईज ऑफ लिविंग बढ़ाने पर जोर दिया गया है। इस बार के बजट में भी टेक्नोलॉजी, लेकिन साथ-साथ ह्यूमन टच को प्राथमिकता, ये हमारा प्रयास हुआ रहा है।
Next up, India against terrorism is what we've often heard from the Prime Minister and his ministers. The phrase is true and in fact recognized by the government of the United States recently as well. A report published by the US government's Bureau of Counterterrorism says Indian government has made significant efforts in 2021 to detect, disrupt and degrade operations of terrorist organizations. It says India has promptly responded to the United States' requests for information related to terrorism investigations. The report also adds, Modi government made every effort to mitigate threats in response to US information. In yet another setback to Pakistan, the report says that Pakistan has made a little progress to eliminate terrorist organizations. The report pointed out that major attacks in Pakistan carried out by terrorist organizations like Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, the Balochistan Liberation Army, ISIS-K. In 2021, report says religious minorities also faced significant threats in the country of Pakistan. Well, now the report on terrorism is published every year in the United States to get insights into the fight against terrorism. And maybe it's a positive signal for India from the world's most powerful country that we are in fact in the right direction to combat terrorism, whereas the same is required from others as well to root out the evil. And now we take you to Swatovo, front line in Kharkiv region, where the Ukrainian forces are face to face with the Russian forces. TV9's Manish Jha is stationed at the front lines and has been sending us the ground reports as the war rages on. He has been moving with the Russian forces. TV9's team went to the trenches, and the visuals give a telltale story of the front lines and the conditions in which the soldiers are fighting. It's a different world altogether. Away from the comforts of home, there are folding beds for the soldiers, the weapons are their companions, and at the very first order of the commanders, they are on the move. TV9's reporter and crew was invited atop the Russian tank T-80. The tank with its roar made strides ahead. TV9's executive editor Manish Jha brings us the sentiments and the current situation from the Russian-controlled region.
What is this?
This is the sign which means that there are still mines can be here not diffused. So the work for the diffusing is going on and there is possibility that still some explosive is here left.
First tell me, what is the name of this city?
The name of the city is Счастье. If translated from the Russian, it means happiness.
Syacha.
Счастье.
Syastya.
Yes.
And in translation of this word is happiness.
Happiness, yes. And here is written, happiness is not far from you. Actually, the city is maybe half of the kilometer from
What
this
did
place.
you say? That happiness is not far
Not
from
far
you?
from you, yes.
Oh, great.
It's just plain of the Russian words, yes.
And what is written on this board?
On this board is written that we wish peace without Nazism.
Okay.
This is for peace without Nazism. It means that our army is fighting against Nazism, first of all.
Now tell me, what is the importance of this city where we are standing right now?
Actually, before beginning of the special operation, here was limit between Ukraine and LPR. And it was first city that was liberated in the beginning of the special operation. And Ukrainian army ran away fast from the city from the beginning of the special operation. And it's the way of the to the other bank of the Seversky Donetsk River.
I can see the power plant. What is this?
This is a power plant which produce electricity for a surrounding area, which was very important for the both sides, and now it's under our control for 1 year.
Well, meanwhile, back home, the exit polls for the three northeastern states that went to elections are in. By all accounts, the Bharatiya Janata Party is set to take Tripura and Nagaland, whereas Conrad Sangma's National People's Party is likely to be the single largest party in Meghalaya. Counting for the three states will take place on Thursday. As always, exit poll results must be taken with a large pinch of salt. But there are a few broad trends that are clear from the numbers that have emerged. The big takeaway is that, like Uttar Pradesh, there appears to be coming together of subaltern groups in a show of strength. In UP, this power play was demonstrated by scheduled castes like the Jatavs. In the Northeast, this trend appears to be playing out among tribal groupings with powerful chieftains representing small fiefdoms holding sway over results. And the Bharatiya Janata Party, like it did in Uttar Pradesh, has foreseen this trend and capitalized on it by aligning itself with such subaltern groups. Political observers in the region credit much of this strategy to the party's go-to problem solver in the Northeast, Himanta Biswa Sarma. According to the four major exit polls that were conducted for the three states, BJP and Indigenous People's Front of Tripura is likely to sweep Tripura with an average of 32 seats. But the story lies elsewhere. Tripura shows the pattern of new political formations wielding significant power. This time around, a strong player, according to the polls, is Pradyot Manikya Debarman Bahadur, the current head of the Tripura royal family. His newly formed party, Tipra Motha, which seeks the creation of a separate state called Greater Tipra Land, has made quick strides and could cause trouble for the BJP. Nagaland is where the idea of tribal groupings comes into play. According to the polls, the BJP, with its alliance partner Nationalist Democratic Progressive Party, led by Chingwang Konyak, is likely to take 42 of the 62 seats. Meghalaya, a Congress bastion until 2018, appears to be headed for a close fight, with the Congress taking 20 seats of the 60 seats and BJP and current Chief Minister Conrad Sangma sharing 6 seats each. Meghalaya, too, is a classic example of how tribal factions are grouping together to help form a government and how the BJP is working this into its larger strategy for the region. Sangma's NPP stood second in the 2018 elections, but was able to form a government with the support of 6 from United Democratic Party, 4 from People's Democratic Front, 2 each from Hill State People's Democratic Party and the Bharatiya Janata Party, and an independent candidate. And if the pattern suggested by the polls come true, then the BJP's strategy of aligning with the regional subaltern groupings could have a major impact on the Lok Sabha elections in 2024. The Northeast elections might prove to be a dress rehearsal for the larger show indeed. Moving on. Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia has resigned from his post after the Supreme Court refused to grant him bail in the Delhi liquor scam. This was followed by another Delhi minister, Satyendra Jain, resigning from his post. Jain has been languishing in jail since June 2022, but had not resigned from his post until Tuesday. Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has accepted resignation of both these ministers. The dramatic developments unfolded as the Supreme Court mentioned that approaching the apex court for Sisodia's bail directly is not a healthy practice. The party was asked to move the High Court instead. Manish Sisodia is in 5-day CBI custody in connection with the Delhi excise policy case. The CBI on Sunday had arrested Manish Sisodia in connection with the alleged corruption in the formulation and implementation of the now scrapped liquor policy for 2021-2022. And take a look at this. In 2019, adventure enthusiast Bear Grylls and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi filmed for the Discovery Channel show Man vs. Wild at the Jim Corbett National Park in Uttarakhand. Well, now Bear Grylls recently shared a throwback picture of the two of them in a blue raft whilst it was raining. The picture that Bear Grylls shared was from the part of the episode where the two were braving the cold and heavy torrential rain. They are photographed docking in a blue raft while trying to cross the Kosi River. Sharing the post, Grylls writes, "Memory of a very wet rainforest adventure with the Prime Minister of India. Two things I know. The wild is always the great leveler, and my raft was definitely leaking." Well, on that note, it's the end of this edition of Top Angle. Do check out incisive news analysis and cutting-edge documentaries streaming only on News 9 Plus. Thanks for watching.